In this video, I'm going to look at how the grade for this computer science course is going to be calculated. So here I am on the test worksheet, and it has the tests, but it also has places for the other components to be added in ultimately. So let's start with the first tab, which is attendance. And so we have all the students. There were 27 meetings. We have all these students. We have an X if they attended and on time, and an L if they came late, and it's blank otherwise. And I'm going to use a count if. So I'll say equals count if, and then I'm going to go for all of the attendance here of Abigail Adams, and if it is an X, then we count it. And so Abigail Adams came all of those days. I'm going to count, and lates will count half. So I'm just going to do a COUNTIF here, and then when I calculate the percentage, that's where I'll do the half. But I could do the half here just as well. So another COUNTIF in the same range. And then I'm counting it if it's L for late. So she was never late. Okay. And then over here, I will say that I am going to add the on time plus the lates, but divide them by 2. You only get half credit if you were late. This is like very late. And close that, and then divide it by the total of 27. Then I'll multiply by 100 to turn it into a percent. So Abigail Adams had 100% attendance. And then there we go. So Booker T also had 100. Isaac Newton had 100. Eugene V. Debs, but other people way down here. Adam Smith was not a good student, apparently. Okay, so there we have these mix of scores, and this is the percent attendance. Now I'm going to do the same for, I'm going to do homework. Well, that's attendance, so there's a spot for attendance over here. So let me grab the attendance numbers, and this is a formula, but I'm going to copy it, and then when I put it over into test, I should be doing a paste special values. I don't want it to, the normal copying in Excel is sub formulas. So if you want just values, you've got to specify that. Okay, so there is our attendance grades. Now we'll move over to homework. And there is just the average homework. So Abigail missed some this time, but copy that down. So those are the percentages of the homework. Now the on time. So just to sort of encourage the students to do things on time and get them in, the way this grading is done typically is mostly effort. So if they had 100, that means they gave in all the parts and they were on time. So if they had anything less than 100, then that is indicating that it was incomplete, late. So we're going to do a count if again. I'm going to count all of these, not the average, count all of these. The criterion is going to be anything less than or equal, or let's say greater than 90. This is the percent that was on time. So if everything came in on time, then it typically will get bigger than 90. And So I needed quotes on that. And now let's see how many were 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that seems right. But let me turn that into a percent. So I'm going to divide that by the number of things 12 and multiply by 100. So there we go. So I should have made some of my students better homework submitters, but here we go. So uh, Susan B. Anthony here had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 12 assignments on time, so 50. Okay, so the homework average, there was a spot for that on test. Here is the homework average. Again, paste values. And I'm going to hold off a second on this because this gets combined with the lab percentage on time. So we'll see that in a minute. Now I move over to lab. We're at 24 labs. So let's just do the average. Average from, what was it, B2 to Y2. That is the homework average. And then let's do that percent on time again. So we were doing, again, if the lab came in all completely on time, then it will receive the sort of full effort grade of 100. And so we're going to do a count if of this range of grades, not the average. We are going to count it if it is greater than 90. We're going to divide by the number of labs, which was 24, and multiply by 100. I missed a closing quote. No, that's stop helping me. Let me fix it. There we go. So we said count if the range, if it was greater than 90, divide by the number of labs, 24, multiply by 100. And so here we see that, say, Adam Smith did all of the labs, but they were all late. And so 0 for this percent. Now I'm going to go over and grab that homework percent on time. So that was here. Again, that's a formula. So when I'm pasting, paste special values. And then I'm going to average these, but there were 24 labs and only 12 homework. So I'm going to count the labs twice as much. So this is going to be equal to 2, I'm going to 2 times the lab plus the homework divided by 3. So my student examples were very bad, but you can change these numbers and make some good students for yourself. So this is the overall sort of things coming in on time. Okay, so here's the lab average. Copy that. That's over here, the lab average. Paste values. The on time percent. Copy that. And that is over here. Paste values. Okay, so I have my homework. I have my attendance. I have my homework. I have my lab. I have my things coming in on time percent. Then I'm going to calculate the test average. And there were 3 tests and a final. And the final can count twice. So that makes it like that there are 5 scores, but I'm going to drop the lowest score. So it may be like test 2 may be the drop score, if the final is the lowest score, then one of the copies of the final is dropped, but it's not entirely dropped because the final is cumulative, so it sort of covers everything. So I'm going to, I could play with a fancier formula, but I think it's just easier to just make a copy. And those were values, so I could just do a simple copy, but I could also paste values because that's what they are anyway. And so I just am making a duplication here. Again, that's not quite necessary. You could just have a slightly more complicated formula than counted the final twice. But I like to make it a little bit more, I don't know, visual. And so sort of if the final's twice, then sort of see it twice. Okay, now what are we going to do? I'm going to take the sum, like I was taking an average of all of the tests, including the final twice. And then I'm going to subtract off the minimum of those 5 scores, which may or may not, could be any of the tests or the final. And then I had 5 scores but dropped 1, so I'm counting 4 scores, so I'm going to divide by 4. And there we go. Copy that down. So now I have all my components. I have the test average with the drop test, final counting twice, and one of those 5 scores dropped. I have the homework average. I have the lab average. I have an attendance, and then I have this things on time. And now we're going to do this weighted average. So the test is a 55, so that's 0.55, and that's going to be multiplied by this G2, the test average. And then we're going to do the homework average. So that was 10, and that gets multiplied by the homework average. And then the labs were 30, so that's 0.30 times the lab average. And then there is 2.5% just for attendance. It's going to be 0.025, that's 2%, times the attendance grade, plus another 0.025 times this things coming in on time grade. And enter that. So here are, again, 55% for tests, 10% for homework, 3 for the labs, 2.5% for attendance, and 2.5% for the turning things in on time. So then we're going to drag that down. And let's make here, some, I don't know, poly perfect or something like that. And just poly is perfect. So, okay, so what were the homework average was 100. So the 3 tests in the final were 100. And then this is the homework average. So those were polyperfect, did everything perfect. And then let's do the calculation, and hopefully we should get 100. And we do. So that's just a test that like your weights add up. Okay, so now we have percent grades, and nobody did very well, but you can change these grades and put yourself in there, do better. Now we want to do a VLOOKUP. We remember the 3 rules for a VLOOKUP table. One is that a range is represented by the lowest number of the range. So we have that part right because an A is 94 to 100. So that 94 is the lowest number of the range. So that's good. That's one of the rules. The range represented by the lowest number of the range. The numbers that you're going to be looking up come before the thing you want to get from the looking up. And that's also sort of right here, that the 94 comes before the A. So that part is right. The third rule is that the ranges should sort of be going up as we go down. That we're in violation of. So we want to turn this upside down. So one possibility is to retype it, but let's be lazy and or smart, and let's just take this little subsection here of what's going to become the VLOOKUP table. And I don't know if I want it way down here. Maybe I will move it. Let me copy it and put it up over here so I can sort of see it when it comes time to do the calculation. There it is, but it's upside down. And so I'm going to come here to data, sort, and I'm going to sort by P from the smallest to the largest. That's what I want. I want to start with the 0. I want to start with the F. And there it fixed it for me. 90, A is still 94, B plus is 88, 0 is F. That makes sense. Okay. Now I'm ready to use this as a VLOOKUP table to look up the grades. Equals the lookup. What am I looking up? I'm looking up the student's overall average. I'm going to look it up in this table here, the VLOOKUP table. I'm going to come back and put dollar signs in that in a second. I want to look up the second column. I want to look up the letter grade. And I want an approximate match. So I'm going to say true. And then I'm going to come back and I'll put in, I think, 2 sets of, don't really need the dollar sign in front of the letter, but it doesn't hurt. But I definitely want the dollar sign in front of the number so that when I pull the formula down, it sticks to my table. And then I'm pulling down. Okay, PolyPerfect got an A, and lots of people didn't do well. So that is the grade calculation. We had 3 tests and a final. We made a copy of the final. We subtracted off the minimum and divided by 4 to get the test average. We got the homework average. We got the lab average. We figured out the percentage attendance, counting lates as half. And if you're not, if you're there, you have an X. If you were late, you have an L, and otherwise you have a blank. And we used a COUNTIF to count up and then turned it into a percent. And then we did percentages of turning things in on time. And it was the homeworks and the labs are mainly effort grades. So anything that was above 90 counted as like in on time. And then so we figured out that average. And those then were 2.5% each. So we finally came in 55% tests, 10% homework, 30% lab, 2.5% for attendance, and 2.5% for turning things in on time. And then we did the VLOOKUP table to calculate the grades. So that's it for this one. Thanks for your attention.